3, 2, and 1.
Welcome. I'm John Townsend. This is the Dr. Townsend Live program. It's a weekly program, or when I'm here and available and all that good stuff. On Wednesdays at 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock Pacific time. Thanks for being here. We have a really good community of people who just want better. You know, they want to have a better life, better relationships, better careers, better families, better marriages, better dating lives, the whole thing. And we try to help people with a practical answer, because practical means what's the action step? And we all need an action step. We try to make it not too difficult, not like, okay, get a brain transplant today. That's kind of a hard action step to take. Not often it doesn't work. But something that you can do in a few minutes so that you can see, oh, I made this change. I had this conversation, or I did, I wrote this journal, or I handled my team meeting this way. And so it's something you can apply pretty quickly. And then the other thing is we try to go to the why. Why would you be having the struggle with a relationship or a family issue or your emotions or whatever, and get to the kind of the root of it? A lot of times when we have some kind of pain, relational pain or emotional pain, sometimes spiritual pain, we just try to put that out and say, I'll make that go away. And the problem is, if you don't take care of the root, it comes back. That's why, I really don't believe in actually fixing a depression. For example, I believe in fixing or repairing or restoring not a depression, but a depressed person, an anxious person, an overwhelmed person. If you get to the person part, what's inside their head and how their insides work, things go a lot better. So we try to do those two things, practical and hit an answer that will mean something to you. And so we're going to be talking to you guys, and our great producer, Stacy's. I want her to say hi because she's got people in the queue. And Stacy, hi. And she's busy. And now I just kind of disrupted her because she's doing everything else and juggling everything. And I just asked her to say hello. Hi, Stacy.
That's okay. No worries. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Townsend Live Show. We're so glad that you are here with us today. Couple of housekeeping items for you. If you're watching this on Dr. Townsend's social media, then you probably already have the call-in number. But if you are just reading the e-blast or came across the show some other way, go ahead and grab a piece of paper and a pen and take this number down if you'd like to call in and ask John your question today. The number is 1-877-853-5257. Again, 1-877-853-5257. When you dial that number, you're going to need a meeting ID code to enter the waiting room. And that meeting ID code is 876-5437-2012. Again, 876-5437-2012. And for privacy purposes, because this is a call-in show only, we want to protect your privacy. So please go ahead and disable the camera on whichever device you're calling in on. So we'll just hear your voice, but we won't see your face. And when we answer your call, you can tell us your first name only and where you're calling in from. And so now we can get started with the show.
A lot of people say that they understand the camera thing, that I'm on camera, they're off camera. But they say that's just an awful mistake. I should be off the camera, and I'm sorry. I got to be on camera so we can talk. So this, it's just the rule. Sorry.
I'm sure nobody's saying that, but I'm sure that you're doing a great job on camera.
We'll see. Okay. So while Stacy's, talking to folks and getting things straight, you might have gotten our little, we kind of do it, just a few hours before the show. So it's sort of my little tickler to say, this is available if you want it. And there's always a little video, something pertinent. And this one's kind of different because this, if you saw it, is the first one. It's the first of a series of 5, they're like a minute and a half long because everybody's busy, but a series of 5 little vids about how do you know if you're supporting someone, which we need to be supportive people, or if you're enabling someone, the whole codependent rescuing, thing. And there's 5 ways to tell, and 5, I just called it a grid. It's a way to make a decision to, if somebody asks you for money or their time or your time, your money, your energy, or if they're not treating you in a way that they should be treating you, but you want to be kind and patient. How do you know when putting up with something or giving someone your time, energy, or focus is making them a better person and supporting them and helping them to have a better life, or is just flat out enabling and rescuing and being codependent, which is never a good thing. So this first one on the vid that came out today is what they're asking you for because of inability or because of inconvenience. Are they asking because they can't do it? They can't. There's a can't there. It's not a want, but they're in trouble and they don't have the wisdom or the support or whatever, versus, well, you're an easy target because you're a nice person. That's inconvenience. And inconvenience is not a great, I mean, I'm not going to ever not be inconvenient if, one of my friends says, hey, you're up. Can you go get me, I don't know, a power bar of the cabinet? Well, that'd be enabling you. That's silly. It's sometimes inconvenience. But if in bigger things, in matters of substance, if a person is just not wanting to do the hard things in life, as opposed to they can't, they have an inability in the area, it's a bigger deal. That's the first one. And we'll talk about the others later. And looks like somebody's getting ready to have a conversation with us. Hi.
That is correct. Hi, and welcome to the Dr. Townsend Live Show. You are live with Dr. Townsend. Go ahead and tell us your first name and where you're calling us from. Caller ending in 032. You are live. Maybe they're being shy.
Who knows?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Tell us your first name and where you're calling from.
Hi, I didn't expect to be first. Sorry. My name is Nisi. I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Hi, Nisi. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Dr. Townsend. Thank you for the time and the call. I haven't had a chance really to formulate my question, but I just bought your book about difficult people. I am separated from my husband, and I am trying to find some answers. I guess he is emotionally abusive, doesn't take ownership of how he emotionally affects me. We do see each other on weekends. I'm trying to but I myself struggle, Dr. Townsend, with anxiety, depression. I'm about to turn 50. And so I have my own issues, but I try not to be in denial about them. Mm-hmm. And I would say he definitely is in denial about his ownership of how he's defensive. When I bring a concern to him, he's defensive and self-protecting and then blames.
Okay, so he has a raft of ways to stay away from difficult realities and ownership and that sort of thing. So given that, Nisi, ask me a question. How do I X? And we'll help you.
Yeah. I think, how do I navigate coming to some, I'm at a point, I've been separated for a year and a half, and I'm trying to come to a point of just making a decision because this can't go on forever. Mm-hmm. And I just am at a point where I was with him in Florida last week for his mother, who's not doing well, and very triggered myself with some interactions with him. And I'm coming to a point where I just need to divorce him, but I'm wondering how do I come to a point where I make a decision? I guess
okay.
Yeah. I guess that is my question, Dr. Townsend. I know this can't go on forever, and I'm wondering and I feel like I'm not healthy enough to create the boundaries that are necessary for him to change. I've tried.
Not healthy enough to create the boundaries necessary for him to change. So what are the boundaries? See, I don't know any boundaries that are necessary for any of us to have someone else change. It certainly makes it's an influence and it's information and that sort of thing, but there is no such thing as a boundary you can set to make him change. But I want to know what boundaries you're imagining right now are the ones that are necessary, so I can get a feel of the ones that you feel like you're not strong enough for.
I think the dynamic, sometimes I think it's just like when he says something that's insulting, demeaning, I don't even know how to walk out of the room.
What do you do?
I think I just I just internalize so much of it, and I have an eating disorder, and that's how I handle it.
So at the time, you're in a room, and he says something mean. By the way, if he's doing that and is humiliating you and hurtful with other people around, Nisi, how does that make you feel inside?
It feels awful. And I will say he doesn't necessarily do it around other people. It's just more behind closed doors.
All right, let's take that. So you're with him, and it should be somebody who loves you and pursues you and wants to help you be a good or better person and cherishes you. And he says something awful, your primary attachment in your life. He says something awful. What does that do to you inside?
It honestly, it just crushes me. I just fold in like a flower. I fold in.
Mm-hmm. You just shut down.
And I think, I fold in, and I feel that I feel a sense of helplessness and hopelessness.
Mm-hmm. I would also think there's got to be at some level, Nisi, a really deep sense of loss and sadness. Like, this is the person that I want to go through life with, and there's nothing I can do, and I'm alone. I'm alone in this room with somebody. That's got to be very sad too. Yes,
that's true. Yeah, I cannot turn to him as the partner in life that I want him to be. And
Okay. I'm really sorry about that. So let's talk about solutions. I like to start with, what have you done already that's failed, so I don't reinvent the wheel for you? So have you guys have been in significant marital counseling?
He is unwilling, Dr. Townsend, to do counseling. I have tried. I have taken him.
He's never been in a marital counselor's room.
Correct. Except once when he was almost threatened the man.
He threatened the shrink?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's not good. All right. So
he has a lot of baggage with counselors from past
Gotcha.
stuff.
What caused the separation? Because most people don't go through it. You're living in different domiciles, right? You said, I see him weekly. Okay. So what caused y'all to separate? Because most people will separate after they've seen a counselor. A lot of people do. It's kind of like, okay, we've tried this, it doesn't work. But without any counseling, what caused the separation? That will help me historically with you.
Sure. Transparently, I was in a 12-step group. The sponsor really was helpful in helping me see how abusive he was. Plus I took a boundaries course based on your book, boundaries class, at a church, and it was very helpful. And the woman teaching it was all about freedom, and the combination of the sponsor and the class was very helpful. And I just felt God was moving me to separate.
Okay. When you did that, I totally understand that. That's what writing the book's about. When you did that, did you say, sometimes people will say the following: it's really not working between us, and I love you, but it's so awful for me. If you don't change, and if you don't go see a counselor with me, I'm separating. Now, some people won't do that, Nisi. They'll just say, it's beyond me, it's overwhelming. And they don't give them the option of a counselor. They just say, leave. Which way did it go with you?
That's a great question. I just left. I don't think I was so overwhelmed. I didn't even know how to say that.
Right. It was sort of like the triggering was so strong and you were at your end and all that. Okay. And that's been a year and a half, you said?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Does he miss you?
Yes, I would say he does. And he loves me, but he does. And he doesn't beg me to come back, but I think he wants me to come back. But
all right. So let's
think of this. It's about money.
Let's think of a little seesaw here, where over here is, let's call him Joe. Joe misses you deeply and he wants it to work. Over here is having to do something scary like counseling. Now, is he saying, I want to be with you, but the counseling, I don't want to be with you enough to get counseling? Would he really, if I had him on the show now and I say, so you don't really want to be with Nisi enough to get counseling because you don't like counseling, you've had bad experiences. So you would rather be in another house, no relationship, minor relationship, than get counseling. Would he say, yeah, clearly, I don't love her that much? Or what would he say?
That's a great question. I don't even think he'd know how to answer it because I think he would say yes ultimately because that's his actions.
Yeah.
Those are his actions, but he just feels very stuck. And I think I feel stuck as well with that quandary. for him.
I think we ought to role play this a bit.
Okay.
All right. So you do see him face to face, so we don't have to do this on the phone or anything. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, so I say, Joe, can I bring up another tough subject between us?
Okay, and you're playing me, Dr. Townsend?
Yeah, I am the skillful Nisi. I'm sorry,
Okay.
the gardeners are here and they're blowing and going. Everything's. Can you hear this sound?
No, I can't. No,
Oh, you can.
I can
I
hear
got a
you
great
well.
microphone there. Yes, it's driving me crazy. All right, so I'm the skillful Nisi, and you're Joe. So, honey, I want to talk about something serious. You got a second to talk about it, about the us thing?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
A year and a half's been so hard because I miss us. I miss the good us. I miss the healthy us so much. And you said that you miss me too. And we're 50-ish, and we want to spend the rest of our lives together, and nothing's working. And so I've been thinking, I know that you've had really bad pain from bad counseling, and I'm sorry about that. But honey, for me, it's a little bit like if somebody had a really bad cardiac problem and Band-Aids didn't work and their heart wasn't working and working out wasn't working and taking vitamins wasn't working and going to urgent care wasn't working, they needed a cardiac surgeon. And you'd had some bad experiences with several cardiac surgeons. I hope you wouldn't go, well, they're all no good. I'll just stick with the Band-Aids and the vitamins and the urgent care. I hope you would say, I'm ready for this and I can do it. And the reason I say that, Joe, is because we're at that point. A year and a half is way longer than I dreamed. And I miss you terribly. And I want to be a better wife and change and all that. But we got to see the surgeon. We are a serious case. And here's my ask. My ask is we see a marital counselor. Now, you just channel Joe, Nisa. You do whatever he would say so we get a feel for this.
Nisi, I hear what you're saying, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, where are you going to find one? I mean, I haven't found one. Where are you going to find one?
Great question, because I don't want to be a
No,
toxic.
I'm really in it.
What?
Yeah,
Hey,
it should be in about 45 minutes. Will that be okay?
Stacy, you're on with me and Nisi. Get off. Sorry, Nisi.
That's okay. That's all right. I was thinking
I
it might
am
be
so
time's
sorry.
up. That's okay.
I'm so sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, we're talking about a really, find a marital counselor. All this. Stacy pops up. I'll find one. No, she wasn't saying that. Okay, Stacy's back running things. Here's the answer is, yeah, you had some bad ones and it's been awful. So I'm going to talk to some people I trust in the Atlanta area. Are we talking Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay, the Atlanta area has a bunch of really good ones. And in fact, this guy I talked to on the show has some names, and he's kind of considered a trusted source. And and he's going to give me a few so we can do what he suggests we do, Joe, is he's going to give us 2 or 3 names, and then we're going to have a one-time interview with each one and test them out and see if we're comfortable, if they understand us without taking sides, if they go down to our why and see our pain on each side, and they're on both of our sides, not just one of our sides. And after 3, and we just tell them we're shrink shopping, and we find somebody we both feel comfortable with who can take us out of this, I would do that.
Okay. Wow. As long as I get to ask them the questions I want to ask them.
Generally speaking, they're 60 to 90 minutes long. Plenty of time for you to ask your questions, plenty of time for me to ask my questions, and plenty of time for them to give us perspective and tell us the path of healing ourselves. Absolutely. I would, let's start the session off with that. Or, we're making the appointment to say, make sure Joe has his chance to ask his questions. How about that?
Okay, that makes sense. One more thing, though. Who's going to pay for it?
All right. Let's go time out. You mean y'all have separate finances?
Right now, we definitely do, and he's resistant to putting forth the income for the money for paying a counselor.
Got it. Okay. I've handled that a million times. Yeah, that's fine. Money's an issue. And you tell me how much you can afford, because if you can afford zero, we'll go to a community mental health center. Now, it's not quite the same, but Atlanta is a large town, and we can go to a county place where they have people for free, or people who are impoverished and, don't have jobs and that sort of thing. We can get that for free. And you tell me the number, because we go up the scale to somebody in the more private practice realm. But you tell me, and you give me a number, and we'll work it out. And then let him think about that.
Okay.
Because what we're saying is, if you want it for zero, you'll get, probably an intern at a county place, and God bless you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some good ones. Or you might get a church that's, just starting somebody off. But if a person hears, but if you've got $10, $20, $30, $200, you'll get this. Then it's not like this binary thing in his head where it's all or nothing. Then he starts to see, well, maybe I can buy fewer fishing rods or whatever, that kind of thing. All right, here's what I want you to do is I want you to get Stacy, get some contact info from you, and
thank you.
And there'll be some names, and either names or organizations that I believe in, because I have lots of great relationships in Atlanta, and I don't foresee a problem at all.
And
wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Townsend.
Your best way, Nisi, is to go to drtownsend.com and click the contact us button on there and submit your information in there, and just let in your reply or your subject, just say spoke with John on show, and we'll know who you are and what info to get you. And
just say, I want to get, he said he'd get 3 referrals in Atlanta area. And so then I'll know.
Okay. I will say that yep. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to talk to you, Dr. Townsend. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for calling, Lisa. Take care.
Okay.
It is such a big deal when we're overwhelmed. And the first thing we think is, I've got to get to safety. That's what Nisi had to do. She had to get to safety. But when any system is beyond, there has to be an external answer. That's why I just, whenever people tell you, like, the next guru you listen to, well, just look inside yourself. I never found that worked, because myself is the problem. And if I look at myself deeper, I'm going to find more problems. That's why I love all my Alcoholics Anonymous friends that go, my mind is a bad neighborhood. Well, we're creating the image of God and all this. Well, we got a lot of junk in there. And so you reach out, and that's why great therapists and psychologists and counselors and coaches and pastors and priests and people with expertise, like my cardiac surgeon kind of analogy, that's what's it's a big deal. So even though you're upset, overwhelmed, and everything, always return to, it's too serious for us to look within ourselves and, have a better date night. That's not for people with those kind of problems. So reach out. God made us relational.
Absolutely. Okay, John, your next caller is live. Caller, you are live on the Dr. Townsend Live show. Go ahead and tell us your first name and where you're calling us from.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams. I'm calling from New Jersey.
Sean, can you give me 30 seconds? I just spilt my coffee all over my keyboard, and I'm going to come right back. This is a crazy day. I'll be right back. It's just melting.
Oh, no goodness. Problem. So he has me, his producer, accidentally taking a medical call on the show, and now we're spilling coffee. Thanks for hanging in there with us, John.
No problem.
I got a little rag here, and I hope the Zoom's still going to work. It looks like the Zoom part wasn't broken. Stacy, I can't text you. My keyboard is shot, so just talk to me. I think that everything else. Poor Sean. Sean, you're calling a bad day. Sorry about that, man.
For now, turn your keyboard upside down.
Oh, okay. All right.
If you have some rice, I think it can drain.
Yeah, I've heard the rice thing.
Bag of rice. Yeah,
you're right about the rice thing. All right, I am functionally okay. I don't think anything is going to break. And our friend Sean's here, and so sorry about that, but we're back on then. And all I heard was, "Hi, I'm Sean." So where are you in the world, Sean?
From New Jersey.
New Jersey. Well, welcome.
New Jersey in the US.
Welcome. Tell us your question, how we can help.
Yes. First of all, Dr. John Townsend, really a pleasure to be on this call. Big fan of yours. Read a lot of your books yourself and Dr. Cloud. And the question I had really was really around relationships, specifically, the book that you read on boundaries in dating. And I have a question specifically regarding that. So it's a personal situation. Myself and a certain individual, we've been, say, dating for about 15, 16 months. It's been long distance, unfortunately. And I know me as a person, I feel like the way God has wired me, I'm not typically a long distance person. I think on one of your video calls, I think you said something to the fact that in a long distance, someone has to move eventually, right? Because that's not the way relationships were maybe meant to happen. So in the beginning of our relationship, things were really exciting. Things were great. I would say for the last, say, 9 months, it's really been a lot more, I wouldn't say functional. We've been dealing more with dealing with problems. Our communication hasn't been, the greatest and the best. My partner has considered wanting to move now, and I'm a bit worried about her making that move because I don't want her to uproot her life and move, especially where the conversations and the relationship are not as dynamic as I would have expected it to be.
When you say move, Sean, do you mean move closer to where you are or move somewhere else?
No, closer to me to try and bridge the distance.
I've got you. All righty.
And so my worry is obviously if she does that, she's going to be uprooting her life. She has a career where she is. And obviously I appreciate the gesture and what her wanting to move. My only concern is given that the conversation has kind of like dried out a bit and is not as dynamic. I don't feel like we're really connecting as emotionally as I would want to. I'm just curious to know if I should give this a shot regardless, or if these are already red flags that telling me maybe this compatibility is not going the way I maybe it's not working, as well as I think it will work.
I'm curious as to if she's got perspective and insight and she's got some emotional awareness. If she's as aware as you are, Sean, about how bad things are going and how the communication's going down to just functional levels, I'm curious if she's aware of that. Well, first, is she aware of that? If I was on the phone with her today, would she say, yeah, Sean and I don't connect at all on the phone anymore. It's not very good. Would she agree to that? Would she say, no, it's great and I feel close to him? What would she say?
I think she would say she feels close to me. I think that's because first of all, I consider myself a conversationalist, and so the way she connects with the person is a bit different from the way I would connect, with the person. And so for her, the fact that I'm able to, be a support to her, I think that's enough for her. So I guess said differently, I think she would say things are fine, things are great, but I probably wouldn't say that just because I feel like on a deeper level, I feel like, that's not, can I call this person my, the other book you read of Safe People, do I feel like these are, a safe person that I feel can be a support,
Yeah,
I think because
there's a lack of vulnerability and really deeper connection that you long for.
Exactly.
And she's not as aware of that. How honest, and I mean honest, Sean, how directly honest have you been about how deeply unhappy you are about that part? Have you been skating around it?
I feel like I have been direct, but obviously I don't try to hurt people's emotions and feelings. But I feel that she would not be surprised if someone else said, "Hey, I spoke to Sean and this is what he said." I think she'll be pretty aware.
No, not third party, not third party. Would she said somebody, that Susie said this in your phone calls? Have you been directly very honest about this problem?
Yes, Dr. Townsend, I want to say yes. I want to say I have been, yes.
Okay, and what's her response to that?
She believes, first of all, I want to say also, I'm aware of the way she was raised also. I think that she was raised in not a very communicative and expressive, environment. So I want to give grace to that also, that
Sure.
There's, probably a growth area also for her there. So she is aware of it. And, I think she tries. One thing I give her credit for, she's always trying to make things better and get things better. So I think that's always a good sign that someone's always willing to, work at something. And so whenever I've mentioned that, I think we've always tried to, for example, I could say, hey, I'm going to grab coffee. And she's like, hey, let's do a virtual coffee date. But, that's just not quite like I'd rather have a coffee, with someone in person. And I know I need to be
I got you.
more
Okay, now
flexible.
that makes sense. Let me back up a little bit. I want you to tell me exactly what words you used to express your unhappiness with the depth of the relationship. And don't give me a summary statement. I want as close as you can, the exact words. I want to get a feel for what she's hearing.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Let me see if I can.
Just dredge them up somewhere.
Okay. I'm going to call her Susie. Hey, Susie. I appreciate. By the way, I'm struggling with our conversations. I feel like we're not connecting at deeper levels. For me, the way I connect with someone, some of the ways, some of my value systems, things that are important to me, is that I want to be able to connect with someone at a deeper level, at an emotional level. And I feel like some of our conversations are not as enriching or dynamic as I would want them to be. Sometimes even when you call, I'm not always. First of all, I don't say this, so I'm not going to say this. But sometimes when you call, I'm not always as excited, to always pick up the phone, because sometimes I just feel like it's very, transactional. How's your day? How did it go? X, Y, Z. And
okay, now I think that's really well done, and I think that's fairly understandable. And so then she goes into how does she approach it? I like the way you said that. So what is her response to that? She can say, no, there's no problem, or you're being mean, or, well, why don't we just talk more, or can we what is her response?
So her response is, whenever I've said that, I'm trying to just be truthful to her also. I think okay, so the thing about it is that I'm very expressive about the things I need, and she has felt that the things that she needs also in the relationship, about me being more emotionally expressive to her, that's something that she is not experiencing, and so she feels like she's been willing to adjust to the things that satisfy that I need in the relationship, but I'm not willing to come over to her side.
Wait a minute. So she wants you to be more emotionally expressive. You want her to be more emotionally expressive. I'm hearing both.
Well, the way she said emotionally expressive is me telling her, I miss you. I'm going to spend the rest of my, more affection. And to me, I don't want it to be mechanical. I want it to flow like naturally. So I feel like, I don't know whether it's the horse before the carriage or carriage before the horse, but I feel like it's, being me expressing those emotional, romantic feelings is the result of being emotionally connected with someone.
I got you.
Before that.
So when you say I'm not happy with it, then she says, well, you're not meeting my needs either. Something like that.
It eventually gets back to that. Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. Here's my take on it, Sean. In no way, shape, or form would I encourage her to move closer to you. Number one.
Yeah.
However, I'm not saying she's not the right person. I think it's a not right now. And I'm not saying break up with her either. I'm saying I have another idea. But certainly, she can do what she wants. But if she says, well, I know you're not crazy about it, but yeah, I'll be on the next plane and I'm looking for an apartment, I would tell her, okay, you can, but we don't have that great a relationship yet. And I want to warn you that it may not work between us. And I don't want to be responsible for that, but you can do what you want, but there's no guarantees. I would be very direct about her, but you can't make somebody not do that. So having said that, here's what I was thinking. If you're done with her, the one she is now, and you don't see any hope that she'll change, well, then you got to be honest and say, I just haven't seen, in 15 months, I haven't seen any change. And then you end it. That's what we do. However, if the good parts about her are good and you're interested in them, and goodness gracious, there's something that draws you, Sean, because you put some significant time into it. you guys need to get a 3-way Zoom counselor, a couples counselor. And she Zooms, you Zoom, they Zoom, done all over the place. And you have couples counseling before anybody has to put time and money and all that into the move. If the good parts of her are worth that to you.
Understood. No, that's good advice. That's good advice. And Pastor John, maybe I should. Dr. John, maybe I should just add a little bit more context.
Okay,
so
but I got to go. Sean, I got to go pretty quick. So I need a quick.
Oh,
question.
okay. So no, just to add maybe a bit more context as to maybe why there's a continual always trying to, and I know that, I want to say that I'm in my older 30s. She's also in her older 30s, and I wonder if that's also driving some of the always constantly trying to work at it, only because, we're both, I would say we're both, in our late 30s, 37, maybe 30, 36, 37. So I wonder if that's driving the little bit of, hey, let's continue to work at this and see if things can get better. I just wanted to add that context. I'm not sure if that matters.
You mean in yourself or in Susie?
Both of us. So we're both in our late 30s.
Yeah, it could. It could. It doesn't change my prescription, but it does. It could.
Got it.
The prescription will address that as well. I mean, because then the shrink goes, well, okay, you guys are in your late 30s. Anybody feeling anxiety, any pressure? Yeah, I do. And it makes me maybe hang in there more than I want to. Then that becomes grist for the mill. It can be very helpful. So that wouldn't change the recommendation.
Understood. Well, thank you, Dr. Townsend. I really appreciate you taking my question and giving me advice.
Okay, good luck, Sean.
Thank you.
Great example in here of where you do the best you can, and then what do we say after Nisi? You got to get that third party. And so, and anybody wants to I think you imagine going to a town you've never been to and starting your life over with a shaky thing like that. Wouldn't be good for Sean, wouldn't be good for her. But thank you for the blessing of Zoom. It's a good thing. Now, by the way, all this stuff here we're doing, it all comes from our involvement in the Townsend Institute for Leadership and Counseling. It's a fully fledged graduate program. It's not like get a certificate kind of a thing from, the post office. We are a graduate program. We are fully accredited by the Concordia University of Irvine, California. And we can get you a credential or a master's or a PhD in counseling. If you want to be a counselor and help brokenness, and we talk a lot about that on the show, we can get you all that. If you like leadership and you feel called to be a leader and run your own gig or be in the corporate world or be in middle management or a family office or the pastorate or run a church or the 501c3, we can get you a certificate or a master's in organizational leadership. There's counseling, organizational leadership, and then there's also executive coaching, consulting, which are kind of the hot topics these days because everybody likes coaching these days. We get you a master's or a certificate in that. And the reason I say that is because some of us post-COVID are in the area of that all there is, and I've got a ceiling on my head. My job's okay, but I want opportunity. I want to get out there and see who I am and what my passions are. I'm ready to take a risk and try my 2.0, my 3.0. That's what we're here for. We've got students from their 20s to their 70s, and they're getting great jobs, tying it in with their character, their passions, and their interests. And tonight, as we're having our info session, Stacy will get you the information. But tonight, in a few hours, I'll be on, and all these people that are around the world that are interested in the program, they come online, and I talk about the program, and then they go into small groups with the different major, the top professor in it, in either counseling or leadership or coaching, and you get to ask all the questions you need to have. It's tons of information. We also have a graduate who's gotten a great job, and she'll tell you, what it was like for her. If you're thinking about this, I think it's still open. I never know these things. I think it's still open. But Stacey will get you the information, and I hope to see you tonight and engage with you, because so many people will say that information session gave me a feel for who you are, whatever that is, and also the professors, and also what this can do to my opportunities in my future. So check it out. See you there.
And it looks like your next caller is live with us. Caller, you are live on the Dr. Townsend Live Show. Go ahead and tell us your first name only and where you're calling us from.
Hello, my name is Shayla, and I'm calling from Michigan.
Hi, Shayla. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I am good. I haven't been in contact with you for a while. You're a wonderful, frequent person with great questions on this show. So tell us your question today.
Yeah, my question is, I was wondering what your perception or your perspective of the role of spiritual warfare in counseling.
What do you know about it so far? It's a big deal, but you tell me, because I like to not reinvent the wheel for people.
Well, I had asked a professor. I'd asked a professor, and he was kind of saying he went on the track of more like the work of counseling is fighting that. I also had a
He was
mentor.
on. Well, I didn't hear that last part, Shayla. You said he was on the perspective of what?
The work of counseling is fighting spiritual warfare.
Oh, that counseling itself is fighting spiritual warfare. Gotcha. That's one position. What
Yeah.
else?
And then I had another mentor friend who was a counselor, and she could speak in tongues, and so she had, I don't know, several experiences where she would employ that in her certain cases, if she was feeling like it was, I don't know how people decide these things, but
If it,
she was more on the proactive
she thought it would
side.
be helpful to do that within the session.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. There's lots of ways people look at it. Let me give you sort of my lens on it. I do believe that all truth is God's truth, and that when somebody's in a counseling office, they employ many things, because the fact that all truth is God's truth also means the entire world is spiritual, and good counseling is a form of winning the fight against the devil. Just because we're supposed to be healthy people, truthful people, people of light, and that's part of it. However, there are things that occur that are in the more directly supernatural realm, and I believe in the supernatural. I believe there's a lot of evidence for that. And my style is that I have a list of people that I trust that are really good at that have better training than I do. And so if I say, look, what we're doing is important, but I can see some stuff that I don't quite understand, but it sounds spiritual. Let me make you a referral. And they go see that person, and that person either says, nope, you don't need it, or you do. But I try to do whatever I can do in my own scope, my own training. I don't want to mess with something I haven't done. Now, if you've got someone who says that she has special training in it, and she's got credentialing in it, and there's been somebody that's mentored her. So, it's the whole due diligence thing, Shayla, of have they, besides being interested in it, do they have safe and sane, credentialed, reputable people behind them that say they're good? Could be. So I just say stay within the scope, but it's a valid thing. Hope that helps. Thanks, Shayla. Oops, she go away. I'm sorry, Shayla.
I think we lost her. Okay. Your next caller is in the queue. Hi, caller. You are live on the Dr. Townsend Live Show. Go ahead and tell us your first name only and where you're calling from.
Hey, it's Butch.
Butch?
Butch. B-U-T-C-H. B like a boy. You like you boy.
I think I got it. Welcome, Butch. Where are you in the world?
I live in a homestead, Florida, with my friends.
Well, welcome.
Like in a house. We live in a house together, and we call ourselves the Fun Bunch. We get up to all kinds of good times, and I'm kind of political, to be honest with you. I'm sort of a political person into politics.
Oh, well, give me a question that we can answer. We don't do political questions, but we'll be glad to help you and your Fun Bunch any way we can.
I don't need to talk politics either. I'm multifaceted.
Great. What's your question, buddy?
So my question for you is, if if back in as far as the election goes, is Trump is lose or is Trump is win?
Is Trump what?
Is Trump is lose or is Trump is win? Because Mike Lindell does a pillows company, and he told me that Trump is still win from 2020.
Oh, remember when I mentioned I don't talk politics on the show?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, real question about relationships.
Let's go for it.
So I had a relationship with a fine lady, and was a common law wife of mine, but we had a big disagreement because she said to me, Trump is a lose. I say, no, Trump is a win.
And so that ended the relationship?
Because she said Trump is win and Trump is lose, and I say Trump is win.
Okay, hey Butch,
and politics.
Butch, I need a question. Like I want you to say, like, how can I, or how does this happen? A question is what we're doing here. We're not like ranting back and forth. So ask a question.
I'm not ranting. If I was ranting, you would know it's a real issue. It's
If
a
we
real
were-
issue for me in my relationships.
Okay, if we were not, we're just dialoguing, but ask me a question. I'd love to help you.
They always say, "Oh, you're always ranting about a Trump is a win." Yeah. So my question about you is, how long is it too long before you can ask for to do it in a different way?
What's the it?
You know.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't say it because it's not appropriate, but I think we all know what I mean. How can you wait too long before you can ask to do it a different way?
Are you talking about intercourse, sexual intercourse?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
Butch, guess what?
Yeah, what?
This really isn't what we're talking about. We're going to have to go now, but the next time you have a question that'll be appropriate, we want to help you. So thanks for calling. Well, there's always good entertainment on this program. Who's up next?
We're spilling coffee and taking medical calls.
It's been a day, huh?
Yes. Okay, caller, you are live on the Dr. Townsend Live Show. Go ahead and tell us your first name only and where you're calling us from today. Caller ending in 811. You are live. Are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, welcome
Can you
to
hear me?
the Townsend Live Show. Yes, go ahead and tell us your first name and where you're calling us from.
It's Becky, and I'm calling from Texas.
Hi, Becky. Nice to have you here. And what's your question today?
Well, let me just give you a little bit summary of my situation. I have been married for 18 months, and something happened a couple of months after we got married that my husband started to change, and I know started to show some of the characters that, of course, you just get to know until you get married. And unfortunately, it has getting stressful and difficult in decisions that he has made by himself. And one of them is just that putting us in distress of debt financially, not respecting boundaries about things that we agree in our premarital marriage. And as I heard the first person that called, it's same situation, no willing to go to counseling. And because always is, if we cannot address our things together here, how we're going to address it with a stranger. And so that's the situation. So as I said, we are in a financial distress, and many of the decision is because I want. And unfortunately, we are in a place that we are emotionally disconnected. Verbally, too, we are in the silent mode most of the time. There's no conversations. There's no activities that we plan. And unfortunately, not all the time. It's hard for me to not just only invite to be connected, but it's always like, well, I don't like this, or I don't want this. And then other conversations about being the victim, always, blaming or saying, this is what you're doing to me and this is why you're doing that. So that's one of the reasons I asked to go to counseling, because it's addressing that, okay, we just need to take responsibility of our actions. And I have to acknowledge, sometimes I push too hard, or I just want to make my point. And that's the side of me. So last week, we just get into little arguments, but it's just harder and harder and painful and painful. And I have noticed big changes on my health. In a lot of my community from church and groups and friends, they have been spoken. Becky, you are just looking healthy in not a good way. So I know it's a distress, it's emotional distress. And the question more is, since last week, we both spoke about separating. We both make the comment, and we not 100% agree, but I have been pondering on that. And so this week, early week, I mentioned again, we need to have a conversation. We need to meet with somebody, because the next step is that we need to separate for the health of our marriage, to find ways how to find new ways to cope and to
Okay,
heal.
Becky, we're almost out of time, and I want to give you an answer, but I need a question.
The question is a part I understand being supportive and enabling. Mm-hmm. And the hard part is because I see that there's little support for him. It's almost like I feel that if I separate it, I'm just dropping him.
You feel that in yourself, or he's saying that?
No, I feel that in myself, because.
Okay. All right. So now form that into a question, because I really want to help.
Mm-hmm. As a Christian, we are taught that you have to fight, that you have to do everything, and that's the battle of am I not honoring God? I'm not doing the best.
Okay.
For my marriage.
Right. So I think I get it now, that you're really scared that if you take moves towards separation, are you ending the fight, a fight that God wants you to consider, and being a disappointment to God as well? Is that how it is?
More, not disappointment, is more disobedient.
Disobedience. Okay.
Because
Now, that's a big deal. And I could tell that your voice sort of quivered a little bit. So you're having some feelings about this. Can you talk about the feelings for a second?
Sadness to see that he is not making any changes to better the situation. Frustration, because my emotions and my needs are not heard and met. Mm-hmm. And very, very tired. I'm exhausted.
And that probably speaks to the physical stress and things your friends are seeing about your health is going down too.
Yes.
Okay. I'm really sorry about that. Especially, I'm thinking 18 months. What a disappointment to go in with all those dreams and hopes and a new life together, and then after this to not be speaking. They're just so deeply sad. I'm very sorry, Becky. Let me give you some perspective. Yes, it's serious. And I don't know how serious the finances are, but I'm going to make the assumption that this could be very dangerous for you. It's not like, well, we can't take as many vacations. It sounds serious. And he's making apparently impulsive, buys. I want this, I want this. And he's not being accountable to you, and couples need to be accountable. So you're scared because as your finances dwindle because of impulsivity, you could be in financial jeopardy. Do I have that right so far?
Correct. Yes.
All right. And he's not willing to go to I'm a big, I love Dave Ramsey. He's a friend and his stuff is the best. And he's not a counselor, but is he willing to go to a financial counselor at all? Or is that not on his?
He speaks, he says, but he doesn't take the next step, because I have even scheduled an appointment with somebody that could help us to have a better, just to put the debt and everything, and then he doesn't participate. He just doesn't want to go.
Oh, so you mean you make the appointment for Wednesday at 3:00 and you say to him, can you make Wednesday at 3:00? He says yes. And then when you say, okay, it's 2:30, let's go, he won't go?
Even before I make the appointment, I set the appointment, and then when I let him know, and even I put it on a calendar, paper calendar, this is what is going on. Then I go, remember this week, we need to, or, oh no, I already made a commitment to do this.
Okay,
this.
but originally, did he say yes, or did he never say yes?
Yes, originally he says yes,
Okay.
but then he doesn't
I got you.
follow through.
All right, so I got you. So yeah, I think we've got to go to the marital counseling thing. When you said to him, we need to go to counseling because separation is the only way that we can save our marriage, I probably wouldn't have positioned it that way to him, Becky, because that's kind of what y'all three would decide in the counseling. Because sometimes the counseling can go well enough that you go, oh, we don't need to separate. He sees that maybe he had some entitlement and he's got to give that up for you, and you're going to not be pushy as you were, and you guys work it out. Not every marital therapy regimen ends up in separation. Sometimes it does, and sometimes that's a healer. But what I would do, if now that you've done that, we gotta repair that for his head, is to tell him, I'm just going to tell you some points to take back to your husband, because I still think that marital counseling is as serious as things are, that's the best hope. The first one is, I don't want to separate, and maybe a marital counselor can help us not separate. And I would use that illustration. You heard what I said to Nisi about if we needed a cardiac surgeon because the Band-Aids and the vitamins aren't working, and we're beyond that. And I don't have any other solutions, Ralph. And so that's why I need one. And if he says to you, I don't need it, or I don't want it, or whatever, you ask him why, because there's always a why. Has he told you why he doesn't want to get help?
Because he says that if we cannot, and that's what doesn't make sense.
If just the two of us can't do it, we don't need an outsider, right? And that's when you say,
exactly.
Right. And I don't care what the personality or background of the cardiac surgeon is, if they're well recommended. So it's not like a friend comes in, they're trained, they've got their 10,000 hours, 20,000 hours trained, just like a surgeon would, and keep pushing that. But let's suppose he's got a block, no way he's going to listen to your reason. Then I would say the following: I'm sad, I miss you, I'm willing to own everything I've ever done, but I'm going to go get marital counseling by myself to handle our marriage. And he goes, that sounds weird. I know it sounds weird. I want marriage counseling to heal us so I can change and you can change. But if you won't go, I got to go. So I'm inviting you, but if you don't think you should, I'll be working on understanding and making strategies about my marriage. Now, let me tell you why that's helpful. Because that means you're telling there's somebody plotting in a healthy way. Plotting, that's a bad word. Maybe somebody's making decisions. My wife's making decisions about me with an expert, and I'm not in the room to show my point of view. Many times the spouse that's resistant will go, all right, I'll show up, maybe just one session, but they want to be in on it because maybe something's happening that they're going to feel like she's changing and I wasn't ready for it. I want to be in on that. There's a good percentage of a resistant spouse that'll say, okay, I'll show up, and they're grudging and they complain. But then if it goes right, the magic happens and you're okay. If he says to you, though, no way, you can go as long as you want to, then you go. And you get help from a very good Christian counselor who works with marriages and say, I'm by myself and I love my husband, but here's the finances, here's what he does, here's what I do. And she will help you with that to navigate, and will also help you to make the decision if it's time to separate or not. So let him know that he comes first. I want it with you. If you don't want it, I'll go to the cardiac surgeon by myself for our sake. And I hope that goes well for you, Becky. All right. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You bet. Well, we got to go. It's time, but we just hope you guys put value in your relationships. There's a relationship with God. We call that the vertical. Relationship with others. We call that relationships. And that's what life's about. It's all about work. It's all about relationships, but relationships always come first. So hope you guys have